We're going to cry, laugh, and love. And we're going to do it together. The Life with Lebang podcast. That is correct. Here we are, another week and another chance to chill, hang out, connect, and do the things that need to be done. Welcome to Life with Lebang, courtesy of cliffcentral.com. If this is your first time hanging out with me, then hello and welcome. Hopefully you'll stay and hang out with us every week and learn something new. So as you know, one of the things that I like to do on the show is speak with my chest about positive present parenting, just because I'm so passionate about it and I just believe it's so important. So we went out of our way this week to get people that are of a similar nature and also believe in the same things. So it's no surprise that today I'm hanging out with, I want to say, a learned individual. You should see the face. He was like, oh, okay. I'm so tempted to say that because of all the things that one learns doing the kind of work that you do. Please help me to introduce my guest today, Zibuze Kunene. He's affectionately known as Daddy Zibuze, right?
Yes.
Interesting. I'll get to that a bit later. But you are at Dads in the Picture, which is an organization that is pretty much exactly that. It promotes dads being in the picture. And like I just said, now that is something that we are so passionate about here at Life with Lebang, even here at Cliff Central. I often speak about how the world would be such a better place if the family unit was correct. And especially if the father in the family unit, if the dad was just operating as a dad. And unfortunately, we live in a time where that's not always the case. So first and foremost, welcome to Life with Lebang. And thank you for making the time to chill with us this morning. How are you doing? I see you've got some coffee in your hand. Is it keeping you warm?
I love the coffee. It's black coffee on my lips.
Oh, black coffee. There's nothing better. So Zibuze,
Yes.
tell us more about when this all began. I mean, we live in South Africa. We know the percentage of households that don't have a prominent male figure. It's sad.
Yeah.
It is very scary. So when did Dads in the Picture begin, and how did it all start for you guys?
So Dads in the Picture started 11 years ago, formally. And we can say probably 13 years ago when it was conceptualized. So there was a group of bikers who were going to day jobs, and when they get to day jobs, they always see these guys maybe with their girlfriends, but never really seeing families. And they kind of thought, you know what, we need to see better, we need to do better. So a like-minded group of them decided, hey, let's do something about this rather than just complaining about it or criticizing what we see. And so they gathered together and they conceptualized this thing. And one of the founders, Lebang Kgosana, who's also been here, by the way, a couple of years earlier. So we are no strangers to Cliff Central.
Of course.
And he then looked at his life and said he grew up with an army of women who surrounded him. And nothing wrong with that. But there was never really a positive male role model in his life. And therefore, he could never properly model fatherhood.
Sure.
And so obviously, like most of us, we would we would go and dabble into fatherhood, become consequential fathers, and kind of find ourselves making a mess of it as we go along. And the mess we make, it just piles up, and generations afterwards, they follow on the same pattern.
Exactly.
Right? Now, in answering your question, that's basically where Dads in the Picture began. But then people easily mistake Dads in the Picture for being advocates for fathers. But we're actually advocates for children.
Of course.
Because we are saying every time when a child is looking back at their life, they need to see that dad has always been in the picture. Right?
Of course.
So we are saying, Dad, you need to be in the picture of your life, of your child's life.
Of your child's life, of course.
And when you are there, don't worry about being perfect as a human being, because we're all imperfect. We've got mistakes that we've made. Our lives are littered with mistakes. But we're saying, make the effort of being there.
Sure.
Come hell or high water, make the effort of being there.
Sure.
And when you are there, acknowledge that you have your imperfections. Acknowledge that you do fall short, and you will fall short, because this child that you're raising, they didn't come with a manual that you can always refer to and say, Gana page, teenagehood, this is how this person is going to behave. Therefore, this is how you need to respond. There's none of that. So you have to find what works. And you think, okay, I've raised a teenager, then I can raise another one. And then this one comes out differently. You're thinking, okay, so what's going on here?
Exactly.
I thought I had it down with the first one, but this one is just...
It's different.
Yeah. So children are different.
Sure.
But that also then contributes to us making different mistakes with all of them. So we're saying to daddy, you don't have to be financially perfect. You don't have to be emotionally perfect. You don't have to be mentally perfect. You don't have to be spiritually perfect, but you have to be making the effort
100%.
while you are there, right? Because sometimes what we do is we run from the situation when we have condemned ourselves. The world says men are trash. The world says men are useless, deadbeat fathers, and all of those names.
And so on. I mean, there are many.
Yeah. And then you think, okay, so I'm clearly not enough for this. I'm clearly not cut out for this. And then you pull yourself out of the picture. Others, they are in a relationship with a woman and the relationship no longer works for him, but there's a child involved. He then thinks, I need to leave.
Ish.
Right? I need to leave. I need to end this relationship. When he ends the relationship, he doesn't think about the child that he's leaving behind. In his mind and in his heart, he's ending the relationship. But his intention is not to end the relationship with the child. And then he walks away, goes and starts a new life. And then we come and we say, Daddy, where's your child? And then says, Ish, there. Exactly. No, but I couldn't stand being with that woman. It's fine. You say that woman is toxic, right? And if you are then leaving that toxic relationship and leaving your child with the person that you say is toxic,
how do you think the child's gonna end up?
Exactly.
You know, Zibuze, I always say this, that being a parent or just being present in your child's life is not a big show that you need to put on. It's not going to Gold Reef City all the time. It's not going to McDonald's and going to Bounce and going to all these amazing places. Children just want to be in the company of their parents, and they just want their parents' attention. They want to have a conversation. They want to connect. They want to do activities. And again, activities don't need to be this big financial, thing that's going to be too expensive for you. If you can't afford certain things, look at what you can afford. If you have 7 hours in your day that you have nothing planned to do, or it's your free time, give those 7 hours to your child. Sit with your child. Engage with your child. Go outside and kick a ball with your child. It's something that you learn as you grow. And as a parent, that for me, as a mom of 5, that's the thing that I noticed very quickly. With every child came the same thing. Sure, they're all different, but they all just want the same thing. And they just want my attention. Exactly. They just want to hang out with me. They don't put pressure on me to do anything or take them anywhere. And we kind of overthink it, especially if we've gone the opposite direction. So if we have removed ourselves from our duties and responsibilities of being a parent, we say, hey, you know what? I've already messed this up. Let me just keep messing it up. We keep running. Whereas it's a simple thing. It's a simple thing. So how do you find the kids that come into your organization? Is there like a procedure that these kids must follow? How do you identify them? And also, what age group are you guys targeting?
Actually, we don't work with kids.
Okay.
Because the idea is, let's work with the father so that daddy is there and he then gets to be the person in the front line in his children's life.
I see.
So when we do that, we one of the things that we do twice a year is say there's a pre-autumn camp out.
Sure.
And then there's a pre-spring camp out. Where it's just daddy and his angels. Just him and his angels. No mommy, no girlfriend, nobody else. So it's in the company of other dads and their angels too.
Sure. And safe space.
Always safe space. So we always amongst ourselves delegate tasks. Okay. Beyond the activities, when the children have their free time, some of them like to go swim. There has to be a daddy who's looking over them. We spend time with them. But what's important is what I've learned is you also get to plan their day, especially when it comes to their meals. That in the morning when these people wake up, they're excited. So they won't sleep as they would at home. So when they wake up, just greet them with a light breakfast. That can be like your cereals and so on. And then while they're eating that, you are then preparing the main breakfast.
Okay.
And once then that is done, we've got those activities where we just engage with them. It's just us and them. And we then prepare for lunch. So you get into the mindset as a dad of saying, that one is these children are sleeping, and when they wake up, they're going to need something to eat.
Sure.
So let me get ready with this.
Sure.
So even that you can carry through at home. So it's things that dads get to carry at home because they've learned them from other dads, because dads learn from seeing.
Sure.
Right. So you can preach being a positive father, but if they don't see a positive father or a present dad, then what's the point?
Exactly. It's classic kids. Kids learn from what they see, not from what you tell them. I think I say this every single week. There's not a week where I don't remind you at home, which is kids will do what you do.
Yes.
You can shout at them and tell them, do this, do that. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to watch you and literally just copy whatever it is that you're doing. So, Zibuze, if, for example, I am a struggling father, let's say I know that I'm not doing my best, or I'm just struggling with the daily operations of being a present dad, is your organization the kind of place that I can come to for assistance and for advice on how better to tackle certain things? Because I find it interesting that you have these camp sessions where for that week or for whatever duration, it's a weekend. So for those 3 days, the dads are then the primary caregivers. That, like you said, there's no mommy there, there's no koko or whoever else would usually take on some of those roles. So this child is literally just dependent on you alone for that period. So it's a nice eye opener for dads to see the reality, the daily needs of this child. However, now they go back to the real world. Now it's back to the office, back to my 9-to-5 life or my busy life, whatever the case is. Are there ways that they can incorporate what they've learned at the camp into their actual lives? And again, do you offer this kind of advice to the average dad who comes to you and says, look, guys, I'm struggling and I need your help?
We actually want the struggling ones.
Oh, you want the struggling dads?
We want the struggling dads.
Yeah.
Because there's no place for them. When everybody else says this is a deadbeat dad, we say, come. Because if we condemn him, where is he going to go?
I mean, I know a couple of people that I can send your way.
Please. Because, and why we do that is we are encouraging them not to continue in the path of self-condemnation.
Sure.
We want to say to them, your mistakes do not define you. Your past does not have to be your future.
Sure.
So let's help you change that narrative, and let us help you become a better dad. We all have hurts. We all have our own traumas.
Yes.
And we are all healing. I've got my own traumas. I'm here and I sound like I've got it all together. But hey, I've got my own bag of mistakes that I'm trying to work on a daily basis as a father and as a partner and as a human being. And therefore, if we are going to say, no, we want this kind of dad, we want that kind of dad, you have to be a high profile or you have to be middle class. No, then we are not doing justice to the cause, because our vision is to see every child having a positive male role model. First prize, dad. So dad must be there.
Sure.
So anyone, any dad, and any young man from the age of 18 upwards can be part of us, because we are saying by the time you get to 18, you've developed certain reasoning capacities where you are able to then make decisions. But also, we want to arrest this trend of becoming consequential and unplanned fathers.
You see, that one is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, because it's almost as though as soon as you are in a situation where you haven't planned to have a child and now you are just a father, the first route that you want to pick is to run. It's very few, a small percentage of men/young boys who say, okay, you know what? I need to take responsibility now. Let me be accountable for my child because this is the matter that I'm in right now. But most cases, men run. They just leave because of whatever reason. Maybe their own fathers ran, or they have never had a positive male figure in their own lives. And it almost feels like it's just easy for them to leave. And society also comes through and says, yeah, Lona the deadbeat. Yeah, you guys, all sorts of things. What would you say is the first step, Zibuze, in that father just accepting a situation and having the courage to reach out to organizations such as yours to say, I'm stuck. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Please, can you help me? Versus potentially not being involved in their child's lives at all.
Yeah. When you're stuck, that's actually the best place to start. And the fact that you realize that you're stuck is a good thing, because there's nothing as tragic as someone saying, I grew up without a father and so I'm okay. Because nobody can grow up without a father and be okay. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. The best parenting is when there are two parents involved, and a mother and a father, because from those you learn different things. As much as we may say, yeah, we need to treat men and women the same and we need to bring this equality thing, it's all good, but let's acknowledge. I can go to Tsepo and, hey, buddy, give him a fist bump on the shoulder and he's taking it, but I can't come to you and do the same.
Sure.
Your body is not built for that kind of toughness or roughness, if I may put it that way. And therefore, when you are struggling, firstly, financially, and you can't make ends meet, come, let's talk. Say, you know what? This is where I'm at. And the first thing is to face your situation. Okay, what bad decisions have I made? And of those bad decisions, where can I start trimming, cutting down? And I need to talk to my creditors. I need to talk to the people that I owe, make arrangements in place. So you coming out and you're acknowledging and you're taking control of the situation.
Sure.
Where you are spiritually lacking, I've been saying this lately, that you need to choose. Whether you are going to be the God praying type of person or the Badimu, the African, whatever spiritual inclination you're going with, be there.
Sure.
But don't just be cruising in the middle. You are neither here nor there, right? There's no spiritual life for you. It doesn't work. As people, we are not built like that. As human beings, we are not built like that. We're built to have a spiritual connection.
100%.
Find yours.
Sure.
I'm not going to preach and say, hey, go this route or go that route. But as a dad, you need to say to your children, this is where I've been.
Have something.
Exactly. This is where I've been spiritually, and this is where I can teach you to go or find your own path. And emotionally, we need to acknowledge our emotions. Quick story, a very short one. This morning as I was driving here, that guy made my day. In traffic, you're always trying to find the quickest way to move around. So I was in one lane and I saw a gap on the other, switched my indicator, went in, and this guy was coming, didn't want to slow down, and he started hooting, flicked my hazards to say sorry, and then he came on my left, started hooting, like cut things off, hey, sorry, and then he came. When he was directly on my window, hooted, and then he zapped.
Haibo.
Ne? Like he zapped, and then he passed. When he passed, I saw the back of his car, And that was the funniest thing for me. And it changed everything. It says, I am a child of Jesus.
Wow.
And I was like, hey!
That's interesting.
I laughed.
That is
I
interesting.
laughed. He made my day, and it talks to the thing that we tend to make judgments based on what we see.
Sure.
So you see the sticker, and then you think, hey, this person must be in the right place. Kanti they are not. We tend to think that if I go to church, I'll find the solace that I need. And we get to church and we start confiding our issues to people we don't know. We don't know how their lifestyle is. And then what happens there? We get burnt, and then we start branding everybody who goes to church as the same. We start branding everything aligned with that in the same brush. So as dads, we're saying, don't always just read what you see.
Yeah.
Go in depth. Don't always also try to project a certain image. Just be real with your children. There are things that, yes, you can and must protect them from, but there are other things that they need to know and learn. I've learned to say to my son when he's asking for something and we don't have the money for it, I don't say we don't have the money. I say we'll budget for it.
Good.
So he's now getting into that. So whenever he asks something, Daddy, can we please budget for this? Right. So now he learns to put in that word in his mind.
Yes.
So again, those are the things that we need to teach, that don't just look at face value, know the person. So even with dads, don't try to put up a facade of being brave, of this person who's got it all together, because then I see you and I think, oh, he's got it all together. Then I can go to him for everything.
Daddy's perfect.
Right? So I can go to him for everything. Hey, Daddy doesn't cry. Daddy doesn't bruise. There's a message that I watched on YouTube. It was those YouTube shorts by Bishop T.D. Jakes. He says one Father's Day, they had given in their church pins that they need to pin on their fathers, on people that they acknowledge as fathers. And this one young boy came to him and put the pin on him. But now the pin was sharp on the other end. And this young boy didn't realize it. And when he pinned it on him, he was bleeding inside. But he didn't know. So he had to acknowledge and take the love. But there was pain and there was bleeding inside. And he continued with the service until the end. Only when he got home could he then take off and treat the wounds. So if we never show, yes, we don't always have to show them that we are hurting. We don't always have to show them that we're struggling, because we need to protect them, because it also affects them. So we need to strike a balance.
A balance, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And say, maybe when the pin comes in, ouch, it's okay. I'll sort it out later.
Sure.
So that we then continue with what is happening now. And then take care of ourselves. And one thing that we don't do as men in general is take care of ourselves. We can take care of Lebang. We can take care of the other 10 children in the house. They can be all good. And daddy's crying. Daddy's wearing underwears that are torn.
Hey, I mean, that's one example.
Yeah.
But definitely it's a big part of parenting. It's just taking care of self. And, that individual love that needs to start first, because you cannot give somebody something that you do not have.
Yes.
So if you do not love yourself, how do you plan on loving your children and loving those around you? You really have to start by practicing on yourself. I want to speak a little bit about the evolution of fatherhood, if I can put it that way, because fatherhood has generally changed over time. And we're seeing now more and more that more dads are loving louder than before. Whereas before you were almost like it was almost frowned upon, like, oh, wow, you wake up in the morning and look after your wife. How could you? You're not a real man. Whereas in this day and age, that should be the norm. More and more men should be loving out loud. More and more fathers should be present in their children's lives, proudly and loudly. So, there's also this idea of the head of household traditionally that we grew up, maybe some of us grew up around, which again would teach the sons in those households to also behave like those kinds of fathers. But then, there's also the nuclear family element. So how do you think the evolution of fatherhood has evolved over time, particularly in the South African context, with the end goal being to normalize present fatherhood?
Yeah. We can go way back. I'm not sure what fatherhood was like pre-colonization. But what we do know is that fathers were present. They were there. Because when colonization came, migrant labor system was introduced and fathers were taken away from homes.
Yes.
And when they were taken away from homes, there was a gap. The woman who was left behind had to play two roles in the home. Play the role of the father, who then was seen as the disciplinarian,
Yes.
as the protector and doing everything, lifting all those heavy things around the home, performing all the responsibilities that he had to. So now she has to do both. And because she understood the context of the time, she held that role. And people then saw her doing that and said, "Wathinta umfazi, wathinta imbokodo."
Sure.
Uyimbokodo. Right. And then when the young man in the family grew up, he was told, "Go look for your father." He went to the mines and they got to the mines, and one gentleman told me this, narrated the story and said, "Imagine you're a father and you're in the mines among your peers and your son is there and both of you have to strip naked." In an era where men were not necessarily transformed, right? You're going through this system of oppression. You have someone younger than your son calling you a boy and dehumanizing you.
Sure.
And then your son is witnessing all of that, but you can't retaliate because you understand the system of the time. Your son does not yet understand the system of the time. And therefore he sees you as lesser of a man because you can't stand up to the boy. And both of you are stripped naked and you strip searched before you go down in the shaft.
Oh my God.
And go and work hard. And you go through pain. You can't change that. You can't do anything about it because you still have to send that money back.
Exactly.
But because you've also had other needs, you now have found yourself a girlfriend and you've got a home here. And you still need to maintain this home. And so you find yourself living this life, and here's your son here. And he then grows up and he starts getting his own family and follows the same suit. So,
rinse and repeat.
Exactly. So what happens to the fatherhood? We can't have a relationship because the moment you start talking to me as a father and you start showing disrespect and calling me out, excuse me, I'm going to lash out on you. So there's no relationship. It's just a father-son name by name. I go home. All I'm expected to do is leave the money that I've made. And then I'm tired. Now here I am. I've left another family there. I'm here with my first family. And so I'm conflicted even when I'm here. So I'm not present emotionally, mentally. And so that's what the system did.
Sure.
And let's flip the script. That young boy who was calling this daddy a boy, his father has raised him to be strong,
Sure,
to be tough, not to show any emotion. He must be hard. At home, his sister has been told, "When are you nothing? Just get married. Whether you go to school or not, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Sure.
But get married, have a husband, and look after your home, raise children. And you must not marry a black, a white, or anyone else. You must marry. If you're an Afrikaner, you marry another Afrikaner. And you don't have a choice in this. You don't have a say in the matter. And so that boy is growing up with pain. He wants to have a relationship with his father. His father is working. He comes home. He's tired. And so the father, because he wants to carry the legacy that is currently running, he teaches him the same thing. So fatherhood is then twisted and perverted when we get there. And so that's why we then say men must be tough. Tigers don't cry, because if you cry, that white boy is going to see that he's getting into you.
Exactly.
His frustration that he's getting at home, his lack of love that
From
he doesn't
his
have from his dad, he's going to take it out on you. Oh, you're crying. Oh, you're a baby now. And, all of that. So you have to suck it up.
And toughen it up.
So that was the fatherhood. And then came 1994. And then we thought that things were changing.
Well,
Yes.
we were told
Yeah.
things were changed.
We were told things were changed. The political powers, we thought it changed. Then we were a rainbow nation. But nobody said, okay, let's have like a debriefing session
Sure.
as a nation.
Sure.
But we were told, imagine you coming out of a toxic relationship with a narcissist, with an abusive person. And now you're told, hey, reconcile. You've got issues. No, let's reconcile. We're a rainbow family here.
But we need to talk about the issues.
No,
But how are we reconciling in J? Just
let's just reconcile. What happened is, and then guess what? The one who was abused is the one who's jumping for the reconciliation. The one who was the abuser. Was just saying. And so men never really got to heal from that past.
Sure.
And then what happens is the psychology is not detoxed
Sure.
from all of that. And so when we give birth, we carry down that toxicity, that pain, that anger, that resentment. And then as time goes by, we then start saying, no, man, something has to give. Something has to change. And then we started saying fathers need to be present. Fathers need to take up their rightful places in the family. You no longer need to be the disciplinarian, but you can be a nurturer in your own way.
Yes.
If you and I are husband and wife and we have children in the home, the way you would parent would be different to the way I parent. It doesn't mean that either of our roles are wrong.
Sure.
And so we are then saying, the man has to evolve and change. Well, dads needed to evolve and change. But then came women empowerment. Women empowerment said, hey, women rise. Rightfully so.
We can do this too, yeah.
Wonke umuntu o independent.
Yes, let's
go
go.
50-50, right?
Sure.
So for the woman, there was no 50 to bring into the relationship because then we were looking at the finances. And so when women empowerment started coming in, women were being more empowered, more emancipated, and they started finding their voices. And they were repelling against these men who have oppressed them all along.
Yes.
They started taking their rightful places in society and making an impact. But then this man was like, who are you? How can you talk down at me? Because he doesn't understand all of this.
Sure.
And so what does he do? The best way he knows how, doesn't know how to express his emotions, he becomes physical. And then we start seeing the violence. But nobody is saying women empowerment is taking place. Simultaneously, let us emancipate the man and say, there is a new woman coming. She is going to be asking you questions. She's going to be challenging certain things about how things have always been. What you then need to learn to do is accept that there is this woman coming, and the wife that you thought was obedient, now
she's switching it up.
Now she's switching it up.
Yeah.
Now she has learned that in the boardroom I can actually have a voice.
Exactly.
And tell those men to sit.
Exactly.
And follow my orders. So I'm going to practice that here
in the
at home.
household. Yeah.
And then he's not aware of all of that.
So it's generally, Zibuze, it's sounding like there's a lot of change over time that just requires everybody involved to adjust and also to kind of be self-aware of the role that they play in that change. Whether good or bad, just be aware of the fact that times have changed and so will roles. And like you're saying, moms will have a certain way of raising their children. Dads will have a certain way. It doesn't make either way right or wrong. Have your way just as long as it works in the household and in the family unit, right? Yeah. Then I think we're aligned. As always, I really wish we had 4 hours to sit and talk because there's just so much. That's what happens when you come into. I know, right? You start talking and then poof, time disappears. So let's set up a part 2 because there's still so much I want to pick your brain about as far as the work that you guys do at Dads in the Picture. But if somebody's listening and they want to donate and they want to find out more, where can they find out more information about you guys online and how can they participate at home?
So firstly, our website is the right place to start. www.dadsinthepicture.co.za. And then we're on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's where you will find us.
Yeah.
And hit us up on any of those platforms and we will take it up and reconnect with you.
Yeah.
We've got a WhatsApp group that's running where we engage with dads on a daily basis. And that's where we then start the work of healing and building each other.
I love that. I love that. Zibuze Kunene, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Life with Lebang. I'm excited to have you back for part 2. This is ongoing work that you guys are doing. It doesn't finish today. It doesn't end in 10 years. It is ongoing. It's evergreen because there will always be a dad out there who needs help. And I am so proud of the work that you guys have done. And you at home listening, if you know that this is triggering you and we are talking to you and you can feel it in your stomach, yeah, they're talking to me, hit them up, make contact with Dads in the Picture. Organizations like this exist to help you. And if not for yourself, do it for your kids. Do it for your children who haven't seen you in years, who maybe don't even know who you are. And if you are stuck, call Dads in the Picture. It's the kind of place where you can get some help. The likes of Zibuze. You'll have mentors to help you in this path of being a father. And like I said earlier, being a present parent is just being there, just availing yourself to your child. And I think that's about it. We're going to cry, laugh, and love. And we're going to do it together. The Life with Lebang podcast.